All right.
Okay, recording. Give it just one more minute here and we'll start right on time. I'm all for that.
Perfect.
I'm going to turn off my video so I don't distract myself or you.
All right, should we just go ahead and get started?
I say, yeah, let's take it away.
Do it.
But
all right, we might get a couple more people coming a little late, but they won't miss the real meat of your conversation, so I think they'll be okay.
Yes, we get the, come on, slideshow. There we go.
There we go. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. This is part of a series we're doing. Sorry, that's all around food businesses. This one is a little applicable to across many businesses, especially with the new sales tax here in Colorado. So thanks everyone for joining us. We're doing this with her and through the Denver Metro SBDC. So we're here in downtown Denver. We've been a part of the Denver Metro Chamber of Commerce for 31 years now. Our big thing is creating jobs through helping people start businesses just like yourselves or grow their businesses. On the screen are some really our last year's impact numbers. What we did with our clients, we're the largest center in the state, but there are also 14 other centers around Colorado. So if you're not right next to Denver, be sure to look online, see where your local SBDC is. We offer lots of programming, lots of classes like this, as well as free and unlimited consulting. So it's a really great resource. Be sure to use it. Next slide, sorry.
Yes. There we go. All right.
So as I was just mentioning, we do consulting, training, and programs. So everything from free and unlimited consulting to kind of one-off trainings like this, whether you're trying to beef up your QuickBooks expertise or learn a little more about the financials in your business, accounting, marketing, anything you can think of, we probably have a class for it, and I'm sure your local SBDC does as well. You should have all gotten 2 reminders from me as well, so if you have any questions at all, please be sure to shoot me an email. I'd love to hear from you. And then on top of the training, we do some longer-term programming. We have a 10-week business plan writing course called Leading Edge for Entrepreneurs. It's coming up in September, so we have some free information sessions coming up. I think the first one is August 22nd, and the next one is September 5th. Be sure, especially for those of you that are just thinking about having everyone just thinking about starting their business, then that is a great way to really write your business plan, get everything together, and it can be extremely beneficial. Awesome. Otherwise, I'm going to hand you guys off to Sari. You're in great hands and enjoy it. Be sure to reach out if you have any questions at all, and I think we'll be able to send a recording out as well after this.
Yeah, absolutely. I am recording, so if people need a replay or they weren't able to attend. Thanks, Morgan. You guys do.
Sorry.
All right, so let's jump into it. I'm going to figure out there we go, tracking there. So just really quickly, just wanted to share a little bit about myself in case you're not familiar with me. I have done another webinar for SBDC, so you may have been on that one before, but So I'm Sari Kimball. I have lots of years in the food industry, in restaurants, coffee shops, grocery stores, farms. I've done sales and purchasing, so selling into stores as well as purchasing for stores. I was with Whole Foods Market for about 4.5 years, and I did marketing for the Fort Collins store. I was the marketing coordinator. I've also done purchasing, and I did local vendor onboarding. So learned a lot in that experience. I tried and failed to start my own food business, so probably learned more from the failures than the success in that. I managed a commissary kitchen for a time, so that was really where I connected really that passion for helping food business entrepreneurs get started. And so Sari Kimball Consulting was born out of that, I really wanted to help those folks who were either starting or wanted to grow their business. Really, I focus on packaged food businesses, although I do know a lot about restaurants and food trucks. And then through my consulting, I do consult with the Larimer County SBDC as a food business consultant, and was able to really meet a lot of very early stage, I just have an idea folks. And it's a great place to start with the SBDC, but I really took all of those pain points and the needed resources and put them all together in Food Business Success, which is an online platform for folks who are just getting started. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that at the end. All right, so today we're talking e-commerce. Not surprisingly, we had a lot of signups for this webinar, a hot topic. And I am, of course, going to get into the taxes piece as well, which is kind of big for Colorado. But our overview today is going to be talking about the opportunity for e-commerce, some of the myths around e-commerce, nuts and bolts, just kind of what you need to know, and then success strategies. And we'll talk about a couple of case studies that I think really highlight how people have been successful today, not the 10 years ago when it was the Wild West, right? So the opportunity, if this big circle represents US e-commerce sales, it's a $600+ billion industry. 95% of US people, Americans, have purchased on a product online. And then this tiny dot, which probably you can hopefully barely see, but probably should be even smaller, represents the retail sales that were done in Larimer County, where I live. So you can see that, you know, you do have a much larger opportunity to get a larger share of the pie. Going into e-commerce, you greatly widen your reach to reach a whole lot more people. But of course, there's also a lot more people in the game as well. But the opportunity is definitely huge and continues to grow. We know, and this study actually just came out recently, so the numbers here, that 50% of US consumers are shopping for groceries. So now I'm getting specific into groceries online. And this number has gone up quite a bit. I think it was probably closer to like high 30s. So even in just a couple of years, we're definitely seeing an opportunity there. More people are shifting some of their grocery habits to buying online. The same study also projects that online grocery sales will grow to make up 20% of all grocery sales, becoming a $1 billion industry by 2022. But that said, when I talk about grocery, imagine putting a King Soopers basically online onto an online platform. And certainly Amazon is starting to do that with basically putting Whole Foods online and then adding like Amazon Fresh. But here's kind of, you know, grocery is bigger than maybe just what you're thinking of. So beauty and health, pet supplies, pet food, household products, cleaning and that kind of thing. And then of course, packaged food and then fresh food. So by and large, even though we could say that the trend is going up for people starting to be more accustomed and willing, more acceptable to shop for groceries online. We do know that the categories, this is from 2017, but beauty care, pet care are definitely leading the trend. People are more willing to take that risk. And then packaged grocery items are still pretty low at 3%. And then at fresh product is even lower. But I think that's going to continue to change. I would guess packaged grocery is higher now, even just 2 years later. So some of the trends that we're seeing is that millennials and Generation Z, they're born from 1980 to 2010, they are going to be the main influencers. They are going to be the ones driving sales. They're going to be the ones that are forcing innovation, right? So 54% of purchases are online by this group. There's a huge population as well. So, but they are looking for more than just a transaction. They want to buy a lifestyle and an experience in their online transactions. We know Amazon, you can't get away from Amazon. It makes up 80% of CPG purchases. So CPG is consumer packaged goods. So that's all purchases, not just grocery, but electronics, toys, anything like that. Mobile is absolutely essential. Oh, and I was going to mention actually, Amazon is actually the second largest search engine behind Google. So people are using Google and Amazon as the way of searching. It's its own search function, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. So it's this online sales retail platform, but people are going there to almost like a search engine, like a Google. So 50% of online shopping, so people just browsing and shopping, is done on a phone. 40% of purchases during last year's holiday season were actually completed on a mobile phone. And 80% of shoppers use a mobile phone as a way to look up product reviews, compare prices. So you absolutely need to be mobile friendly and really, really optimized for mobile. I think more so even than on, we all build our websites on a computer, and then a lot of us don't look at what the experience is like on a phone. So really important. We're seeing subscription models are still trending. Everything from beef, meat purchases that are subscription based, razors, beauty items. There's tons and tons of subscription models. Personalization, again, that goes back to selling a lifestyle and an experience, but is there a way to create some personalization either in how people put together their actual products, like beauty care? They will, take they'll ask you a whole bunch of questions and then give you your perfect moisturizer or whatever that is. So you could certainly do that with a lot of other food products as well. So is there a way to incorporate personalization into your business model? And then we're definitely still seeing an omni-channel approach. And so I'm going to talk about what that actually means. But basically you're going into multiple sales channels, and hopefully they're kind of reinforcing each other. One of the things that we are seeing when people are doing omni-channel approaches and business models is that they're actually creating custom products and packaging for different channels. So let's just look at kind of your various your sales channels, a business plan around having an omni-channel plan. So you could go direct to consumer, so farmers markets, trade shows, e-commerce, and then we're going to have native and marketplaces, and I'll get into each of those. And then you could also have wholesale, so grocery, and in grocery you could have kind of mainstream conventional grocery, you could have natural grocery, and then you could also have like convenience store grocery, C-store, or you could also have like big box like Costco grocery, or you could also do food service as well. And there's a number of ways you can do that. Do you want to go through a distributor, self-distributed? Do you want to be a local brand, a regional brand, a national brand? And then another option is, do you want to like package other people's products and put their label on it. So an omni-channel plan would be taking and mixing these, which ones are you going to do? Maybe you're going to do e-commerce and natural grocery, and so it's a mix and match. And so there's not like one formula for anyone, but you want to think through in your business plan, what is your omni-channel plan? Because those things can really help to reinforce each other and bring greater awareness to your product. All right, so we're going to jump into the myths. And are you guys having trouble with sound? Oh, yeah, it looks like, okay. Hopefully you got onto the landline, but I think I'm doing, I think it was just one person. So hopefully everybody can hear me. Please let me know if you can't. All right, so the myth number one is that, an e-commerce business is the golden ticket, right? It's the cash cow. It's going to cost you very little and you can make all this money. That is no longer the case. There probably was a time, I think back in the early eBay years and early Amazon years, but it is a very crowded space. There is the myth of low overhead that is a myth. I actually did a version of this presentation with a gentleman, Ben McConnell, who owns Blue Parable, and he helps people with their e-commerce business setup. And he has both a brick and mortar store and an e-commerce store, and he did this whole comparison of like the comparisons of expenses, and they were really, really close. So you're gonna have things like hosting fees for your websites. You're going to have lots of selling fees. Everybody wants to take, a part of your profit. You are going to absolutely have to spend money on ads in order to float to the top, because while the opportunity is large, there are also a ton of players in the space now. You absolutely are going to have to hire some outside services to do it well, because if you're doing online, you take away the whole like smell and taste piece around your food or drink product. So photography, having really good photography is going to be really key. Having great design. You have to make your product stand out on a computer screen or on a phone screen. Social media is going to be much, much more important for your online traffic, driving that. And then, of course, shipping is going to be some overhead there. And just constant management, tuning, and refining. So a lot of time, whether you want to do it yourself or you want to pay someone to help you with that. And as far as overhead goes, when you're doing a packaged food or drink product, which is, I'm focusing on that. I know some of you may not be in that particular industry, but it really applies to any consumer packaged good product, CPG, where you are putting out all of the cash up front. You have to make the product, you have to buy all the ingredients, you have to buy all of the labor. So you really still have to manage your cash flow. And so that doesn't go away in an e-commerce business. So you're going to have to put the cash up front. You have to purchase everything, produce the inventory, then you still have to sell the product and collect the cash. The cycle might be shorter in an e-commerce scenario than like a wholesale. So actually I should have adjusted this. This is more for traditional grocery store wholesale. But you're still going to have a lag time between when you buy all that stuff and then when you actually get the money. So managing your cash flow is still really important. And if you haven't seen this before, this is basically any startup is going to go through what they call the valley of death. That's where you're putting out all the money and haven't gotten any sales yet. But in a food business, it's not just one time. You're going to, every time you scale up to a new level, grow your business, you are going to have these valleys of death where you're going to need to bring in more cash, produce the product, go out and sell it, and then collect the cash. So the more you go up the staircase, the more you need to plan well in advance, because I like to say there's no emergency, $250,000. So you can usually find $5,000 if you need to, but as you move up the steps, you go into local, regional distribution or larger e-commerce, you are going to need to have some capital and plan for that well in advance. All right, so myth number 2 is that I can do it all on my own. I can run this whole e-commerce thing right on my own. This is a recipe for wasting your time and money. You can't do everything. You're gonna burn yourself out. And this again came from Ben with Blue Parable, but he put this together as a way to illustrate all of the different knowledge domains that you need for just for an online business. So, 26 domains. So you need graphic design, you need purchasing, you need receiving, banking, legal, doing all of your marketing, your social media, customer support, fulfillment. So he put this together and estimated that if you were going to be an expert in all of these things, you're looking at about 65 hours a week. So you are going to need to outsource some things, create a team, build a team, whatever that looks like, whether it's your own employees or kind of an outsourced contract team. So do not go it alone. This is a recipe to quit for sure. Myth number 3 is that brick and mortar is dead. That may be trending that way for electronics and some other category industries, but that is far, far from true with a grocery store setting when we're talking about food products. So right now, only 3% of shoppers buy all of their perishable groceries online. 25% of people have tried an online delivery service. I actually just tried my very first one on Sunday and got groceries delivered through Prime Now, and it actually worked really, really well. But I'm definitely one of those people who likes to go in and touch and look at my food and evaluate and decide what cut of fish I want or what kind of meat I want, whatever I'm feeling. So it definitely is a different experience, and people are definitely slow to adopt this. So we know that only about 26% of them actually stick with that kind of service. They might be willing to give it a try, but they're going to go back to the grocery store. Again, we like to touch and see our food much more than other products. You want to pick out that tomato, right? The perfect size and all of that. So, and the reality is that if they're already going into a grocery store to pick out their perishables, then they're less likely to go and do a separate thing online. It's like, I'm already at the grocery store. Let me just pick up all of the things that I need, all the packaged food, the household, all of those other things. And then this is the big one that I work with a lot of my clients on. They come to me and say, I put up this website and now it's just sitting there. I thought if I put this up that I would have all these people buying from me. All my friends and family said, I'll buy. Well, your friends and family can only support you so much. So you need to get new people to your site. And I think that there is this mentality, like if I just build it, then people are just going to show up and they're just going to buy my product. And it's going to be amazing. What we do know is that on a native site like this one, when you put up a Shopify site or a WordPress, anything with e-commerce, we know that there's only a 1 to 3% conversion. So think about how hard you have to work to get 100 people to your website, and only 1 to 3 of them are actually going to buy. And I want you to think about even your own habits. Do you go to an individual person, an individual business's website? When was the last time you went there and bought a food or drink product? I honestly, and I work in this industry, I can't say that I can't think of a time I've actually gone to an individual native website and purchased their product. Certainly on Amazon or on other marketplaces. So this is a big myth around like, I just want to build it and it's going to come. And why aren't they coming? Doesn't matter how great your website is. So going through those myths, then you might be asking yourself, is an e-commerce business model, is that right for me, for my business? So a couple of kind of deciding factors are going to be your product type. Is the product perishable? What is the shelf life of it, if any? Certainly the less, the more perishable, then the harder it's going to be to do an e-commerce style business. It's going to require a lot more shipping logistics, keeping things cold or hot or whatever it is. And then, of course, the more shelf stable something is, it's going to be a little easier to do that. Amazon definitely has requirements and other marketplaces that you need to have a certain shelf life, because if it's going to sit in their warehouse, it needs to have a good amount of runway time to be able to sell. And then your packaging is another big one, right? A lot of food, especially for people just starting out in a food business in CPG, they're going with glass, right? And that is heavy, it's breakable. So, people don't like paying for shipping. They want to just like go to Amazon Prime, right? And so packaging can definitely get in your way. And as I mentioned, we are seeing in omni-channel approaches that maybe you have glass in the store, but you actually have a different kind of package that you're doing for Amazon or for e-commerce. So maybe you're doing a vacuum seal or you're doing plastic. But this is definitely can be a real obstacle for certain types of product, that packaging piece. And then, of course, your budget, thinking about your business model. What do you have a budget set aside for this? I find it very hard to bootstrap e-commerce and go in and just hope that you're going to like self-fund by whatever profit you make. You have to go in with some budget for marketing. That's the only way you're going to float to the top. So you're going to need to do marketplace sponsored listings if you're on Amazon, looking at digital ads on Facebook and Instagram, investing in influencer marketing, creating an experience. So investing some money in creating experience, whether it's through packaging, inserts. There's lots of ways to generate experiences. And then, of course, your time, right? Where do you want to best be spending your time in your business? If you're focusing on wholesale or direct to consumer and farmers markets, do you also want to be then splitting your time? There's going to be a big learning curve, especially going into marketplaces. I know from some clients who do, Amazon businesses, that much of their time is spent managing Amazon. It is like a job in and of itself. So don't think that it's a set it and forget it. You are going to have to constantly be in there, tweaking things, doing your ads, going through your invoices. And then you're going to have shipping. So if you are shipping your own product, right, you're going to the post office or UPS and that kind of thing. You could certainly look into drop shipping options as a potential to save some time. And certainly, people either usually have an excess of time or an excess of money, and then sometimes neither. But depending on your time money equation, you may decide you want to spend a lot more time figuring this out because you don't have the budget to do that. So let's see, I think I covered that. Okay. All right, so let's talk about the actual platform. So this is kind of the nuts and bolts. So if you're going to do a native website, these are most of your options. Probably the ones you're most familiar with are Shopify, maybe Squarespace or Wix, and then WooCommerce is the plugin for WordPress. So those are probably the most common that you see. I personally really like Shopify. That's the one that I put my clients on and build their websites on Shopify if they want an e-commerce business. It's really built for that, and the shipping piece is fairly easy to set up. If you're just going to do a basic website and outsource, not do e-commerce, then you might just go with Squarespace or Wix. WordPress is a little bit more involved. So if you are just wanting kind of plug and play, I definitely would recommend Shopify, Wix, or Squarespace. And then you're also going to need a way to accept payments from people. So Shopify has their own payment platform. You could integrate Stripe, PayPal. So you can have all of these as options if you are on Amazon. People love it when there is where you can click a button and say, you know, pay through Amazon. I actually have a friend who has an online garlic business store, and she added PayPal this year as an option for payment. And she has just been so surprised by the number of PayPal transactions. And she really thinks that her business has actually increased sales because of just adding PayPal. She's like, why didn't I do this years ago? Oh my gosh, but they love you. All right, so real talk. Let's just talk about Shopify, some pros and cons and expenses, what you can expect. So the hosting fee is $30 per month for the basic plan. You are going to have payment processing fees. They do give you a little bit of a discount if you use their Shopify payment platform, but you're going to, you know, lose that 2.9% that's going to come off of your cut. You may need to integrate additional apps as well. There are some free ones that have limited functionality, but some people may need a little bit more robust apps. So those often are monthly charges. So you want to be sure you're taking into account all of those monthly fees. And then pros, it's really easy to create a website. It is a website platform, so you're not having to pay a separate website platform. It has 3 templates that I typically use that are free. You can always purchase templates as well that are more robust. The product setup is really easy. It is designed for e-commerce and shipping in mind, so they've made that whole shipping piece a lot easier. The cons are, you know, creating a native website. You are an island in this giant sea of lots of other islands competing for eyeballs. The backend setup can still be a little bit tricky and nuanced. Everything from taxes and shipping zones and packages, and so there is some things that you want to know and make sure you set up correctly. So I've done this with a lot of clients, so now we've gotten really good at it. But there were a lot of YouTube videos that we watched and everything to get our feet wet and learn all of the ins and outs. And fees incur every month, whether you have sales or not. And like I said, you know, I have people who set up their website and then they're like, I just want enough sales to cover, I would love enough sales every month just to cover the Shopify fees. And so that's challenging, but you know, that's just going to be a recurring expense. All right, so then when we talk about the other type of platform, which is going to be a marketplace, so there are actually 2 under that. So there's the consumer marketplace and then wholesale marketplaces. So when we talk about consumer, that's the consumer's buying from you or from the marketplace, getting the product directly. So you know all of these. These are marketplaces, so they host many other products, so people can come and do one-stop shopping. And then these are food, kind of food specific, or they at least have a food category. So these are smaller marketplaces. Goldbelly and Bubble and Thrive are dedicated food marketplaces. Indie Goods has a food category. But these are places that if you don't want to jump into the big Amazon with a food product, you may consider going onto one of these instead. And basically, you think about it like a wholesale transaction, right? You're going in, you're pitching these companies and telling them why you should be on their online, their internet retail shelf, basically. So think of it more like a wholesale pitch for getting onto a marketplace. Now, you know, Amazon, you don't have to qualify. You can just put it up there and see how it goes. And then if you want to, there are marketplaces as well for wholesale buyers. So people, you know, gift stores and grocery stores, convenience stores that are looking for product. So you can list your product in these marketplaces. Shelfmint and Range Me are dedicated for food brands. They're for packaged food brands. Shelfmint, I just got a client in there. He wanted to try it. They have pretty low fees, 5%, that they take, and you build in your shipping and everything. And a buyer from anywhere in the U.S. can basically they can find you on there and purchase your product. And Shelfmint is doing quite a bit of marketing to try to get that out there. Range Me, they really talk more about large national grocery chains and convenience stores, drugstores. You're not going to have a lot of buyers really going and searching for you, but once you make a pitch and basically apply to be in some of those stores, they're going to want you on Range Me. So it doesn't hurt to put your product on there. Fair is for like smaller gift store, gift shop, you know, those smaller boutique stores. And so they have a food category, but there are other things sold on there. So the benefits of the marketplaces are definitely that they're doing the marketing for you. They're driving people to that marketplace, and people are a little bit more willing. We know that basket sizes are higher for marketplaces because there's so many more products to choose from. And so you're like, ooh, what about this? And what about that? And so you start building up your basket. And it's so easy and fun. So typically people definitely pay more, but have a larger purchase amount than even like in a grocery store setting. So let's talk Amazon, some real talk here. Like I said, kind of breaking that myth that like, I mean, I've talked to people in consults where they're like, I make this amazing tea. I'm just going to put it up on Amazon and then it's going to sell like hotcakes, right? So a couple things when we talk about pricing. So you're going to have seller's fees. Amazon definitely takes a big cut of that. 8 to 15% for food products, and 8% is for products that are under $15, and then it goes up from there. If you want to be what's called FBA, fulfilled by Amazon, so this is in their warehouse as Prime, then you're going to be paying 15% plus. There's tons of other fees associated, like if you aren't moving your product fast enough, having quick turns, your product sitting there, they're going to start billing you for having product on the shelf. So these fees will go up and down and can really have a lot of variety. Advertising, you absolutely have to invest in advertising if you're on Amazon. Just putting it up there and hoping people will find you, that is just, it doesn't work that way anymore. The market is way too saturated. Pros, people are there, they're ready to buy. It's a fairly frictionless process. Once they're up there, they know how to do it. So that's definitely the major pro. The cons are, like I said, it's very time consuming. The learning curve is high. I had a gal I was talking with who had a food business, and she tried to get on Amazon, and she did one thing wrong. She put herself in the wrong category when she applied, and she was not allowed to reapply for 6 months. It kind of like put her on, put her out in the detention in the corner. So you can get kind of dinged on your application if you do it wrong, and then it'll set you back, months, and you have to wait. So I really definitely recommend that you do get help with setup. I have some great, I have a great DIY resource that's online course program. as well as if you want somebody who's just going to set it up for you. So you can reach out to me. I'll give you my contact information at the end if you're interested in either those services as resources. It's going to be costly. Your advertising costs are going to be high. Not all products are as welcome as others, and certainly heavier products, glass products, things that break are not as welcome. And like I said, fees can really change without warning and go up and down. And all of a sudden, I was actually doing some financials for a client that has, they started their business on Amazon. And I was like, whoa, these really vary from month to month. How do you even, anticipate that? How do you build that in your budget? And they were like, yeah, it's, we don't know. So you can set a range, but think about probably 40 to 45% of your budget of your selling price is going to go to Amazon. That's pretty typical. And the other big con, which is a really big con, is that you do not own your customers. Amazon owns your customers. So you don't get any customer data. You don't know their emails, you don't know their names, you don't know their demographics. Yes, you can retarget, of course, through paid advertising, but having a native site, if people are buying through your own site, you own your customers. You can retarget them with emails. You can find them and know more about them. Okay, well, let's talk sales taxes. I'm just gonna take a quick drink here. So this is Colorado specific because well, first of all, let me just say e-commerce is not exempt. I should put that as a myth. You are not exempt from paying sales taxes, even as a food business. So Colorado enacted, they tried to get it done, like implemented last fall, and then they tabled it because people were in a huge uproar. But as of June 1, this House Bill 19-1240 is now in place and required. So packaged food is a little bit of a exemption in that you're not going to have to pay taxes across the board, state, county, and city. But it all depends. So for sure, you do not pay Colorado sales tax on what's called packaged food for home consumption. So if it's a hot product, if it's off a food truck, then they pay all the taxes. But if it's this packaged food for home consumption, that's your magic phrase, you're not going to pay state taxes, but you may pay county taxes and you may pay city taxes depending on where you live. So I actually have a webinar that I did on this exact topic that goes into more about whether you need to pay taxes and how you figure that out. So I'm going to give you the link for that. So if you want to go watch that webinar, you can. But in any case, back to this. So basically this House bill, it came down after a Supreme Court case, but basically saying that, and of course, Colorado's like leading the way, they're the first ones to do this. So basically you need to change your taxing, your tax system for online from origin sourcing to destination sourcing. So origin sourcing is that wherever your business is located, let's say I'm in Fort Collins, so my business is located in Fort Collins, I pay taxes on my e-commerce sales based on where I live. So Larimer County does not charge for packaged food. They don't have a sales tax for that. So I would only remit city taxes based on my sales online. So that's origin sourcing. Destination sourcing is that I am paying taxes based on where the person lives. So if they live in a city and a county that food is taxed, that packaged food is taxed, I need to have a sales account, a license set up with both of those entities and remit those taxes. So it's incredibly cumbersome. which you can see why people threw a fit last fall. But they did create an exemption temporarily. If you have sales that are under $100,000 online, then you are exempt from the destination taxing. So you can continue to do origin sourcing taxes. And I will have a Q&A at the end. So if you guys are like, whoa, this is really, I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible, but you're welcome to type any questions into the chat and we'll get to that at the end. So they are working on a new system and then it will be globally applied. So no matter the size of your business, but it's supposed to streamline the whole process for the destination tax. And then if you're selling on a marketplace, this year in October, marketplaces are required to collect and remit taxes on your behalf. So you're not submitting the taxes, but they're collecting them. So we'll see how that goes. I'm not sure. I'm sure Amazon is not happy about that, but stay tuned for that. And then if you're interested in watching that webinar, it's just foodbizsuccess.com/taxes-webinar. So I'll leave that up for just a second if you're interested. And you can also watch the replay of this if you didn't get that, or send me a quick email. All right, so we're going to talk success strategies. So like I said, let's avoid all these myths and not pretend that it's this golden, cash cow, and that if we build it, it will come. So success strategies. You really need to spend some time, if you haven't done this, and I find that most brands don't do this at the beginning, really getting clear on your brand identity. So a brand identity is your visuals, your values as a business, your brand, your voice, and your personality. So I always say, like, if I met your brand at a cocktail party, how would they present themselves? Would they be the joker? Would they be sophisticated and serious? Would they be witty, playful, right? What would they be wearing? And this is one way to look at brands, kind of through this lens of a personality. It's called the brand archetypes. And we're not going to spend time on this, but I just want you to really think about, have you done some brand identity work? And I do this with all of my clients when I start working with them, no matter what stage we're in. Because like I said, I don't feel like people really spend the time to do this because they just want to get started making their product and selling it, which I totally get. And then along with your brand identity is really knowing and understanding your target customer. So I always take the energy bar aisle, right? There's like a million products. Like, how on earth are you supposed to choose? It's like decision fatigue. And you just can't be everything to everyone. And so this is one way of looking at your ideal customer. So Kevin here is going to want a very different energy bar than Kate, based on his values and his demographics and his psychographics, and like, what does he value and what does he worry about, and what does he really love? What does he do in his free time versus Kate. So if you really can get those two things rock solid, what I love about that is that they're really going to help you when you know your brand identity and your target customer. They're going to really help you to get very focused. You're going to be able to make a lot better decisions with your marketing. You're going to get away from the everybody loves my product to being really, really specific about who you're targeting, how you talk to them, what you say, the colors, the photos, the sponsorships. Like, it's going to you're going to stop throwing spaghetti at the wall and trying to be everything to everyone. And certainly online, this is going to be even more important to really, as you think about how you spend your ad dollars. So speaking of ads and promotions, things you're going to need to invest in to be successful are social media, Google ads, sponsored ads, and I realize I'm about 12 minutes out. I want to save time for questions, so I'm going to kind of blaze through this. Promotions, emails, so targeted emails. These are going to be some of your platforms that you may want to be paying for. MailChimp is free up to a certain number of emails. And then you may want to engage in influencer relationships, micro influencers, or paid influencers. And then, like I mentioned, that omni-channel strategy can really reinforce each other. So they see you in a store, they find you online, vice versa. All right, so I have 3 case studies I think are really interesting because they're all different, the way that they went. So the first one is Birch Benders. You've probably seen this in stores because they're everywhere now. It was founded in 2011 in Boulder, Lizzie and Matt. And you can see, I like going onto people's Instagram. I went way back to the beginning. This was like their first post. And then I love to see it, how it's evolved. But they really revived this kind of sleepy, stale category of pancake mixes. They got into Whole Foods first in Denver, and they were doing demos twice a day to really get awareness. They expanded into all Whole Foods markets. They got into other natural stores. Now they're in Targets, Kroger's. I think they're probably in every major chain. They added, and so they went into Amazon, and one of the things that they did is that they do offer different package sizing on Amazon. So it's actually a 24 ounce or a 48 ounce. It helps create a better price point for consumers, and it helps with the shipping issues. So they're basically buying a bigger package than you could buy in a grocery store, but it kind of makes things more efficient. And then they expanded the line from paleo. So now they've added keto, they've added frozen waffles. So they're just all over the place, and they have a great omni-channel strategy, but they really went the more traditional wholesale and then got into e-commerce. So the opposite of that is a brand called Soylent, which is an interesting name, but it was really created by this guy who made this meal replacement formula, and he kind of created this DIY community. And so people were basically just had the recipe, and he provided some of the product, like the base protein, I guess, and then people were just making it at home. In 2014, they had the largest crowdfunding ever, 1.5 million in pre-orders. So they started with packaged protein. They only sold online. The only place you could find them was from 2014 to 17 was online. They do have a subscription model, so you can save money. So then they came out with their packaged beverage products, so they're ready to drink. Then they launched, so their model in 2017 was they actually went into 7-Eleven first, which I thought was an interesting choice. And now they're in Walmart and Kroger. And you can see they've updated their packaging. It is kind of a lifestyle brand, like, ooh, what's that? What are you drinking? It says something about the consumer who's drinking it. And then they did add Amazon, so they are now on Amazon. And then their last piece is that they've really expanded from powders, ready to drink, and then they've just added these squares. So kind of a very different model, going from online only and then into some brick and mortar and then Amazon. And then this one is just a completely different model, which is cool. So Dirty Lemon, this is their homepage. Really unique bottles, very interesting designs and colors, very minimalist. So these are functional water beverages, launched in 2015. This is their very first feed, post feeds. It is only available through text. That's the only way you can get it. So even if you're online, you have to text your order. So they have a proprietary system that they created, a software system that has some auto responders and works through the ordering system through text only. Interestingly, so the brand has always been about emphasizing kind of dirty, the word dirty, through sex. So definitely, I try to be very careful about some of the photos, but they definitely have their brand identity really dialed in. And actually, there was a great quote from Zach Normandin, who's the founder, and he says, "Dirty Lemon lives at the intersection of fashion, lifestyle, and wellness. We believe that consumers identify strongly with beverages. The beverage someone drinks says something about them." So they really capitalize on that. The way that they got started is through their paid digital advertising. So Facebook and Instagram did a ton of that. Let's see. So they have just really exploded their brand. And so you can still only get them through text, except just like last year they started experimenting with this pop-up drugstore concept in New York. So here's what it looks like, and this is the only way you can physically get their product, like go in and walk out and have the product. So really interesting business model. And they just received a $15 million investment from Coca-Cola, and they've taken over the minority shares of Dirty Lemon. So it'll be interesting to see how Coca-Cola takes some of this software and texting and all of that into their model. Okay, so if you have questions, you can go ahead and start typing them in. I can also unmute you if you want to raise your hand. But just very quickly while you're typing questions in, so what I do in Sari Kimball Food Business Consulting, I offer free resources, startup resources. So if you go to my website and you go to start a business, you put in your email, and then you get, you can actually take a quiz to see which licenses you need. And then there's a ton of free resources for starting whatever type of food business, whether it's packaged or a restaurant or a food truck. I offer business growth strategy. So when you're ready to scale up, you need to do financials, you need to figure out a co-packer, how you're gonna really create profit, and do all of your next steps to get into whatever that next step looks like for you. I do branding and marketing, so really dialing in that brand identity. And then I package it all together to do go-to-market strategies. And like I said, I did start Food Business Success this year. And so this is meant for early stage food producers, packaged food producers. I offer mini courses. I have a full startup accelerator. I offer a monthly coaching membership program so that as you're going through it, you just need to ask some questions and get clarification and get the right answers. And then I also do label and packaging reviews, especially for FDA compliance. Super important, and I didn't mention that with Amazon, but they are very particular about some of your packaging and your labeling, so making sure that that is correct. I also have a YouTube channel, which of course is free, so please go to my YouTube channel, and I have lots of videos on all these different topics about starting a food business. All right, so that's what I do. I am gonna go ahead and open it up to questions. If you had any, I know that was a lot of info. Any questions for me? I can also let you, you can also unmute yourself too if you want to ask a question. Now we're just hitting almost 1 o'clock. Thanks, very helpful content. Awesome, thank you, I'm glad it was. Turn on my video too. Figure, always nice for you to see me. So does Amazon take care of sales tax for you? I'll be honest, I'm not completely 100% sure. I don't think that they do right now, but like I said, October 1st, especially for Colorado, they will need to do that for you and remit those taxes. truthfully, I mean, I am not an Amazon expert. I consider myself a generalist, and then I go deep with specialists. So like I said, I do have some good Amazon resources. But that's a great question. I will make sure I find that out for next time. What kind of research do you do in helping develop a brand? I like to do what's called what I call a landscape report. So that's looking at what it is you're doing, looking at your brand identity, who your target customer is, all of that. And then we also do positioning in the marketplace. So who's your competition? How are you going to stand out? Comparing like pricing and sizes and what's your brand identity in the marketplace to make sure you can stand out. And then I put all that together in what's called a landscape report and give you basically recommendations of what I think your business model should be, or some of the directions you could go and how you can really position yourself to be successful, whether you're going to e-commerce or going into grocery stores or a combination of that. So I love doing those. Awesome. Any other quick questions before we wrap up? I know it's just 1 o'clock right now. And we'll send out the replay. Morgan will send that out to you. So, well, I really appreciate you spending your lunch hour with me and getting to know me a little bit better. And I would love for you to reach out to me and get to know me better as well. And if I can ever help you in your food business journey, I would love to. Check out all those great resources, lots of free resources on both my websites. So, all right, guys, have a great day.